approved last year, last year. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit as to the methodology that was used for the program, determining which pipes will be replaced, when, why, how, things of that nature. So I'll get right into it here. Okay, so what is WIReD? It's a systematic plan to reduce pipeline maintenance costs. We've seen pipeline maintenance costs increase significantly, and I have a slide here in a couple minutes that you'll see. And so part of that was we wanted to reduce those costs. As the costs are continuing to escalate with the aging system, it's playing an impact on our rates. So the plan's objective is to reduce those costs, reduce water loss, because obviously with old pipes you have lots of leaks, and lots of leaks equals lots of water loss. Although the water itself isn't lost, because either it perks back into the ground or it leaks off into the river where it perks back into the ground. But what it is we have to pump that water into the system, we have to treat it, pump it into the system, and then it just simply leaks right back out. So we want to reduce that. Reduce outages, where oftentimes where we have pipelines that need to be fixed, we have to turn whole blocks off, or sometimes with the aging infrastructure, certain valves won't work, so we'll have to increase those outages even larger so we can get our arms around the infrastructure, get it shut down. Improve efficiencies, water quality, and then obviously customer satisfaction. So the tasks that we took to complete this are very similar to what we did with the Paris program, which is our street rehabilitation program, where we looked at many different things, and I have a slide that I'll show you some of the things that we looked at in order to determine which pipes will be replaced and when. And so basically here we can see replace pipes that are causing the most frequent leaks, and then coordinate this replacement schedule with Paris. And that's a question that we get quite frequently when it comes to Paris, is are we looking at the other infrastructure in the ground? The answer is yes. Not only are we coordinating our own pipeline replacements, we're coordinating with the gas company and Edison and the other utilities that have infrastructure in the ground. We let them know months and months in advance is what we're going to be doing so that they can get their improvements done and before the final resurfacing of the streets. Now oftentimes, as an example, just up the street here, there was a gas company had replaced a piece of pipe. Those types of things will still happen. That was earlier, a couple of years prior to that, they had a failure up there, and through their research they had determined that a piece of pipe had exceeded its life expectancy based on that lot of pipe, so they went ahead and took care of that. But for the most part, the utilities are getting out in front of us, getting those things replaced before we do a final resurfacing. And as I said, we are doing our own stuff being flood control, sewer, and water. We're coordinating all of those together. Okay, so efforts undertaken to complete. We're identifying the pipes that cause the leaks, identifying trends, trends in the distribution expenses, trends in pipeline installation, pipe replacement schedules, and then comparing existing pipe replacement deterioration rates. And so a little bit about the system that we have here. In the city we have about 110 miles of pipe. It's quite a bit of pipeline for this little city. And that's just water pipe. That doesn't count the other 230 miles of sewer and about 40 to 50 miles of non-potable. This is specifically looking to address the water system. Sewer has a completely different system that or program that we use, and non-potable is pretty much too new in order for us to have to do any really long-term planning for that. Yes, ma'am?
You said 110, and that says 400.
410.
Okay.
I intended to say 410 as it shows there.
Okay.
Yes. So a little bit of breakdown as to what types of pipes we have. 194 miles of AC pipe. That's basically a concrete pipe. 71 miles of PVC, 71 miles of steel, 53 miles of CMLC, concrete lining coated steel. We look at CMLC very different from steel. A steel pipe would have a coating like bitchmastic. It's almost like a tarry type of coating. It's riveted. Sometimes it's kind of sandwiched like a taco, and then there's rivets across the top. Or it could be spiral, like a toilet paper roll. That's a spiral wrap, and then the joints would be welded. That's typically the older pipe, those two. and that's the one we're addressing. CMLC is a spiral welded pipe, but it has a concrete line on the inside and the outside. Very good pipe. 20 miles of ductile iron, and then a mile of HDPE.
What's your current standard?
The current standard that we use, the current installations, so what we will install ourselves or allow contractors to install, will be either CMLC or ductile iron. When we do our projects, we dual bid them, meaning we will allow a contractor to bid on both ductile and CMLC, and then we'll choose the lower price. Both of those are very, very good pipeline and have a good life expectancy. The age of the system, the steel pipe we had is about 60 years of age on average, so obviously there's pipes that are older than that, some are newer than that. AC's 42 years of age, CMLC 38, HDPE 12, PVC 11, and the ductile about on an average of 10. Some of that will be because in the last 10 years we've been installing quite a bit of ductile. Typically it's less expensive for the contractor to install ductile iron pipes on the smaller stuff. And so you can see there's the age of the ductile is newer because of that, because of some of the pipeline replacements that we've done in the recent years have been, for the most part, ductile iron. Yes, sir?
I'm going to assume that the AC is not used anymore?
AC is not used anymore, yeah. It's no longer being constructed. It's a very good pipe.
So you don't have any problem with the asbestos leaching into the water? Or
No,
like
it's
that?
what we refer to as being encapsulated.
Okay.
So it's within that concrete itself. We don't install anymore. I don't know of anyone who does install AC, obviously because of the asbestos and the problems
right.
associated with it. But it is something that we actually test for in our water quality. But typically that's from the asbestos that you might see actually in the ground itself.
Oh, okay.
You had a question?
He actually asked my question, but I was wondering, when you say you test for asbestos, is it downstream at the delivery point or just at the treatment plant?
It's at the delivery point. Yeah, because at the treatment plant, it might not be an issue for the most part because that's surface water. So the groundwater would be where you might see it, but it's certainly not a problem here in Redlands. So it's a very good pipe. It's rather thick. There's no corrosive issues with AC, unlike you will with that steel pipe where we see a significant issue with that steel pipe.
Chris, before people get worried, asbestos is an inhalation.
Yeah, it's not a drinking problem, it's a breathing problem.
Yeah, right.
So that's where the issues are associated with AC. And as you can see, 42 years ago, it was very prevalent that in that period of time when AC was being used. But again, it's a very good pipe. The only issue that we really see with it in the field is it's a bit brittle. So tree roots, if it's planted next to a tree and a tree pushes on the roots, or the tree roots push on the AC pipe, it can have a tendency to crack it, and when it does, it goes all the way around a crack on the pipe. But for the most part, it's a very good pipe. So a little bit on the leak history. So this is a lot going on here, but we can break this down pretty easily. The blue bars across the bottom are pipeline replacements. And then you can see there in 2007 where we've got let me take a step back. So we've got the blue bars, which is pipeline installations, and then you have that green line, and then it continues across to a blue line. The green line is the trend that you saw from 95 to 2006 on pipeline installations. So you had about 2 miles per year. And then in 2007, you can see we picked up to about 5 miles per year on average. This is going back from 14. So obviously that trend has increased a bit. Where we had sales were quite a bit more in those period of time, so we had a little bit more money to install some pipe there. The red jaggedy line going across the top is basically trended that black line, which is the leak trend. And so you can see at some point there we were having 700 leaks per year, which is a lot of leaks. That's a tremendous amount of leaks. Well, with each leak comes water loss, a crew of guys that have to go out there and make that repair. They've got to backfill that hole with base. They've got to install a repair van, and then we've got to go out there and put a permanent patch. This could be done during regular work hours, or this could be done on overtime. So obviously overtime would increase the cost, partially because they're out getting paid time and a half. Another part is going to slow the job down because now they're working at night. It isn't quite as efficient working at night. So That's a pretty big expense when you have 700 leaks per year. And again, I'll show you in a second the distribution department expenses and how those have escalated. Well, you can see we're kind of trending down here now with the installation of some pipes here, but still at 500 leaks per year, just sticking that black line there, that's still a significant expense within the department. And that's really what we're looking to control. So I have two of these charts. They look almost identical here. So you can see that the amount of pipe that we should be replacing each year is going to be about 5 to 6 miles of pipe per year. Now, council recently increased our budget to 5 to 6 miles per year in perpetuity. In addition, they addressed that right there, which is this is the exact same chart. I'll go back and forth here. You can see the big spike there in 2041. You can see the big spike there at 2041. This is the reality of it, though. The first one that I showed took out that 25 miles of backlog pipe. This, in essence, shows this is each year I'll go back again, each year that we were not replacing the needed amount of pipe, that green line there, that was equating to a backlog. So the department was replacing 2 miles, they should have replaced 5 miles, 3 miles was put into backlog. Plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. Well, that finally equated to 25. So this was one of the big things that council increased or added to the rate increase, was replacing that 25 miles of pipe. That 25 miles has an average age of 81 years old. So obviously, pipes that are 81 years old are going to be causing you a lot of problems. These are our old steel pipes. Typically, it would be on the central to southern portion of town also, because as the soil gets redder, in essence, the soil becomes more corrosive. And the more corrosive, obviously, that starts eating away or decaying away the metal of the pipe itself. That causes more leaks, and so predominantly that's where we're going to be focusing our attention, or have been focusing our attention, is replacing that steel pipe. Yes, sir?
How much of that 25 miles have you already replaced? Or did I misunderstand what you
Well, we're constantly replacing pipe, and so the council just approved the rates, and there's 3